Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 86th chapter. Oh, they put it to a different place here. 80, and it's text number 9. Give me a second to get back there. They put it in the 87th chapter. Yes, 86, text 9, but it was somewhere else, so. 9. Here we go. All right. Are we ready? Mahatyam Deva Yatrayam Radha Stam Durga Nirgatam Jaharanumata Pitro Krishnasya Cha Maha Radha Mahatyam Deva Yatrayam Ratastam Durga Nirgatam Jaharanum Mata Pitro Krishnasya Cha Maharata Mahatyam Deva Yatrayam Ratrastam Durga Nirgatam Jaharanum Mata Pitro Krishnasya Cha Maharata Mahatyam Deva Yatrayam Ratrastam Durga Nirgatam Jaharanum let's start over. Jaharanumata Pitro Krishnasya Cha Maharata. Word for word. Mahatyam. Important. Deva, for the Supreme Lord. Yatrayam, during a festival. Rata, on a chariot. Stam, riding. Durga, from the fortress. Nirgatam, having excited. Jahara, he seized her. Anumataha, sanctioned. Pitro, by her parents. Krishnasya, by Krishna. Cha, and Maharataha, the mighty chariot warrior. Translation. Once, on the occasion of a great temple festival, in honor of the Supreme Lord, Subhadra rode out of the fortress-like palace on a chariot. At that time, the mighty chariot warrior Arjuna took the opportunity to kidnap her. Subhadra's parents and Krishna had sanctioned this. Okay, we'll read this together. Once on the occasion of a great temple festival, in honor of the Supreme Lord, Subhadra rode out of the fortress-like palace on a chariot, and at that time, the mighty chariot warrior Arjuna took the opportunity to kidnap her. Subhadra's parents and Krishna had sanctioned this. purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur identifies this festival as the annual Rath Yatra festival for Lord Vishnu on the occasion of his rising from the mystic sleep at the end of Chaturmasya. Subhadra's parents are Vasudeva and Devaki. Okay, in looking at this, we see a couple of things. One, if you're going to do an endeavor that might have some difficulties or opposition, you need to have it authorized or bona fide. And as it said here, Subhadra's parents and Krishna had sanctioned this. So we have to look at what things are sanctioned for us to do. We don't speculate them in our mind, right? Like there's process of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani Vedanam. You notice that none of the processes of devotional service are like speculatanam, nindanam, prajalpanam, embezzlenam. We notice that those are not the processes that we must practice, the bona fide process. And you know what's interesting here? Some people had a controversy about that Subhadra, how can she be the parent of Vasudeva and Devaki? Well, one thing we'll look at here in the purport. In 1971, I used to bring Prabhupada his prasadam at the Akash Ganga building. I'll tell you something that would be hard to believe about me. I was a child then. That may be hard to believe, but it is true. And Jamuna would cook big, huge plate, and then the Maha plate would come to Prabhupada. So I'd take the big plate out, and I would put away the Sanskrit commentaries that Prabhupada had by Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. That's why we notice that he uses the bona fide. We don't use the commentaries of Swami Hajpajananda at the Concoction Society, although many people appear to do that, right? You just concoct a philosophy, whatever suits my needs, right? What's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine, yes? Is that it? But we can't concoct a philosophy. We have to go by what is bona fide. And that's why we see that if Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that Subhadra is a parent, is the child of Vasudeva and Devaki. Because in one sense, Subhadra and Krishna can be the child of Vasudeva and Devaki, and they can be the child of Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj, and at the same time, it's not possible. Krishna says in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, in the 6th verse, although I am unborn, anybody here unborn? You wouldn't be here if you were unborn. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. The Sanskrit words are Srijami Aham. I manifest myself as I am. Anybody else do that? Anybody manifest themselves here? No? But we understand there are some dilemmas in these pastimes. And Krishna says in the 9th verse of the 4th chapter, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetitakvataha takvadehu pranarjanma naitimam satitu. So Arjuna, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving this body, take his birth in the material world, but returns to the spiritual world to be with Krishna. So we look at these points are brought up here. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur You're picking an auspicious time, like people pick an auspicious time due to astrology to get married, or to start a business, or to take a journey. What is the one day of the year anything you do on that day becomes very successful? Begins with an A, and the second word begins with a T. What is it? Akshaya Tritiya. So do we do something good on that day, or do we go out and get drunk? Which is the solution? If you go out and get drunk on that day, what happens? You keep doing it, right? So you want to do something that you want to keep doing. But that's something that we should do on a regular basis. We pick the things we want to do and keep doing it. So this time was picked. First, Arjuna got the authorization from Vasudeva and Devaki and from Krishna, and they picked the time that is the Ratha Yatra festival, because this is like the Akshaya Tritiya. This is a good time to have success. Just like days like Ekadasi are good for spiritual advancement, or days like Janmashtami and other days. This day is the perfect day for accomplishing our spiritual goals. So what's the significance? This is kind of an interesting festival with kind of interesting deities. And there's a couple of backstories to this. We think way back in the Satya Yuga. We read about the stories in the Satya Yuga, but the processes we do ourselves are more related to what Lord Chaitanya and the six Goswamis and the Srila Prabhupada has given us. Because as you notice, we're not in the Satya Yuga now. Who thinks we're in the Satya Yuga? Okay, glad we cleared that up. So, how about this festival of Ratha Yatra and why these deities were there? A long time ago in the Satya Yuga, in a place called Avantipur, there was a king named Indradumya. And he was a great devotee, and it was Satya Yuga. There was peace in the kingdom. Everything was functioning nicely, but he still wanted to be able to see the Lord face to face. Because if we see the Lord face to face, we have everything, even if we have nothing else. And if we have a lot, and we die owning a lot, we only take 40% with us, or is it only 25%? Or is it zero? Zero. Even if you have a lot, doesn't seem to matter, right? So this Indradumya wanted to see the Lord face to face, and he was hankering for a way. And one day, a traveler, a mendicant, came into his court and said that in the mountains of Niladri, hidden away, there's a beautiful deity of Nila Madhava. And the demigods come to worship this deity, but the deity is hidden away. So King Indradumya sent his different priests in the different directions. And his main priest, Vijapati, found the Nila Madhava mountain, and there he found a group of non-Aryan people, Sabaras. They take care of pigs. That would not qualify as a Suchi occupation to take care of pigs. Am I correct? So the chieftain was named Vishvavasu, and he had a daughter named Lalita. And interesting to show, in the Indian archaeological digs, they say that the present day Brahmins tried to say that in the ancient ages, that people were considered Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra only by birth. But in their study of history and archaeology, they found what we find in the scripture, that it is based on quality. As Krishna says, guna karma vibhagashaha, by qualities and actions. Isn't it? If some guy comes with a sword and he's a big guy and he knows how to fight, you can't say, oh, you're not a Rajput. If he knows the things, he's a Kshatriya. So Vijapati married the daughter, Lalita, of Vishnavasu. And he noticed that Vishnavasu would sneak out and he would come back smelling like camphor, incense, scented flowers. He goes, he must be worshiping a deity somewhere. So he asked his wife. And his wife says, well, my father has a deity hidden. And the deity's name is Nilamadeva. And he doesn't let anybody see where this deity is. So Vijapati figured, I made it to the right place. But it showed how that in the ancient age that he married someone who wasn't born in the Brahmin caste, and that wasn't as important. Even if people tell you that today, people come up with all kinds of ideas. In Laguna Beach, the one Indian man said to Tukaram, in Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, life is just a game, you just have to play it. So Tukaram says, really, where is that verse? And the person's looking through it, he said, did you find it yet? If you're going to quote a verse, you better know where it is, right? That verse is not in there. But he didn't tell him that. He let him nervously look through it. So finally, Lalita pleaded with her father that Vijapati could get to go see the deity of Nilamadeva. And she helped him. He made like a pocket with a little hole in it and filled it with mustard seeds. So as you're going, they drop a little at a time, like one and then one more. And so as he went to where the deity Nilamadeva was, the mustard seeds went on the way and eventually they would sprout. Unless there's too many birds around. Fortunately, there weren't birds to eat the seeds, right? So he got there and he saw the deity and he was so entrenched by the deity. And then he got ready to go back. And the deity of Nilamadeva said to Vishnavasu, I have for so long taken the simple forest worship that you have given me, and I appreciate it. He says, but now I want to be worshipped opulently by King Indradyumna. How would you feel if you had a dream and Krishna and Balaram and Radha Shyamachandra said, you've been doing nice service here, but we want to travel with Indradyumna Swami now. Would you feel a little funny? How would you feel? But if the Lord is demanding it, would you tell him no? Some people think I let God do his things half the time. The other half, I try to force him to do it my way, and that makes me 50% surrendered. No, that just makes you 100% frustrated. So he was pretty dissatisfied, so he arrested Vijapati, and his wife says, no, you can't blame him. He didn't tell the deity to say that. So he let Vijapati go, and Vijapati went back. There's different versions. Some say that a crow fell in the lake and died, and then immediately got a Vishnu form. And he thought, well, I'm going to jump in the lake. But a voice says, no, your duty first, and go back to Vishnu Loka. Your duty is to go back to Indradyumna and tell him. So he went back to Indradyumna and told him that I left the mustard seed trail, and Indradyumna came with the army. And they went to the gate, and he and Vijapati had trouble. They burst open the gate to see the deity of Nilamadeva, and the deity was gone. So they arrested Vishnavasu because he'd hidden the deity, and he pleaded, no, I didn't do anything. And they didn't believe him. But a voice came, I think Narada Muni came and said, no, he didn't do it. It is the Lord's desire. And I think Jagannath said that I will appear in the form of Lord Jagannath, and I will wash up on the shore in a log that will come from the spiritual world, and that you should go to this place, which is where Jagannath Puri is, and build a beautiful temple. So they went to there, and they built this beautiful temple. And Narada Muni says, well, we should go to my father's planet, Brahmaloka, and ask him to come and consecrate the temple. So they went to Brahmaloka, and Brahma said he would come to initiate the temple. When they came back, there was no temple there. None of the people he knew were there. And a crow said, "Don't you know that on Brahmaloka time moves so fast and all the people you know are long gone? And the temple has been covered by sand. Just like the more ancient the civilization, the farther it is covered, the farther you have to dig for it." And, this is there when Lord Brahma went away for a moment and came back, and a whole year had passed. This story is actually on the History Channel. And along with that was a story about how Revata went to find a husband for his daughter and was told that, listen, on this planet, things go so much faster, all those people are gone. The History Channel was concluding that time must be different on different planets. So you should respect Lord Brahma. But if Lord Brahma says, I'm going away, I'll be back in a couple of minutes, don't wait for him. So we have to understand the different realities. And I guess they didn't watch the History Channel because these stories were on the History Channel and this was as it was happening. Now, if you have the spiritual vision in your heart, you can see it remotely as it's happening. You don't even have to sign up for a cable service that the monkeys might dismantle, because if the service is in your heart, the monkeys can't dismantle that. So, the Galamanda was the king. He says, let's excavate the temple. I built this temple. And then a crow came and said, no, Indradumya built that. But then he says, but we don't have a deity. What should we do? And Lord Jagannath came to him in a dream and says, listen, the log is going to show up and you just pull the log out of the water. It's the Daru Brahma. It's a log from the spiritual world. And you carve it into the deities. So the log showed up and the soldiers and the horses tried to pull it out. They couldn't pull it out. This one pig farmer who was a descendant of Vishvavasu came and easily pulled it out of the water. So they took it for the sculptors and they were chiseling and all the chisels broke. And along came one Brahmin who was actually Vishvakarma. He says, I'll carve this, but one condition. He said, for 21 days I can't be disturbed. If you open the doors, I'll stop carving. After 14 days, King Indradumya couldn't hear anything more. So he opened the doors, and there was the deities we see of Lord Jagannath. No hands, no legs, and too big of eyes. And he says, oh no, I've made a big mistake. And then the voice of Jagannath said, no, this is not a mistake, that I do want to appear in this form. It's all being done by my plan. So we think, why does this form have some special kind of significance? And why do we use these forms in the Rath Yatra? Well, if we come back a little closer in time, a little over 5,000 years ago, the residents of Dwarka met the residents of Vrindavan and the field of Kurukshetra. And this is where Radharani says to Krishna, she tells her friend, I met my old and dear friend Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra. He is the same Krishna. I am the same Radharani, and it is very wonderful. But I still wish to be by the bank of the Yamuna River, hearing Krishna play the sweet fifth note on his flute within that forest of Vrindavan. So, they know that God has 50 qualities like us in full, and in Vishnu he has other special qualities, like he is all cognizant, ever fresh. He has Satchidananda, he has all mystic perfection, all yogic potencies. Universes come from his body. He gives salvations to the enemies he kills. Don't try that, that's a Vishnu quality. And he's the source of all incarnations. But even then, there's some qualities that Krishna has, especially in Vrindavan. And the residents of Dwarka would hear Krishna dream about how these Madhurya Leela, the sweet pastimes that Krishna had, and the prema that he has, the 4 extra qualities with his devotees, and the sweetness of the flute, and the beauty of Krishna's form is even more beautiful. So the residents of Dwarka says, well, listen, Rohini was both in Dwarka and Vrindavan. She must know this. She goes, okay, I'll tell it, but we'll go to a secret place and we'll lock the doors, because if Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra hear these, they'll go into such ecstasy, they'll get stunned. So they went to the secret place, and Rohini is telling them all about the intimate pastimes of Vrindavan. Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra, being all cognizant, could tell something's going on in there. So they burst open the doors, and when they heard Rohini talking about the intimate pastimes of Vrindavan, their legs went inside their body, their arms went inside their body, and their eyes got big. Where do we see these forms? Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balaram. So this is the point where Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra are in Dwarka, but they are missing Vrindavan and go into such ecstasy that the arms and legs go inside them. So this would certainly be the time to take them back to Vrindavan, wouldn't it? So that's what the chariot festival is all about. And this must be important. You know, we follow the Yuga avatar. Before I was devotee, I read in an astrology book that according to astrology, an Indian saint named Chaitanya would have to be the greatest person that ever lived, because Krishna advents himself at the time, which can be the best. So I've thought I have to find out who this Lord Chaitanya is, and I did. So when it came time for the Rath Yatra festival, Lord Chaitanya showed us this ecstasy of the Rath Yatra and taking Krishna back to Vrindavan. And just like this was the auspicious time for Arjuna to kidnap Subhadra, this is the auspicious time for us to take Krishna back to Vrindavan. Because just like in the Jagannath Puri, Lakshmi and the assistants, they don't really want Krishna to go, but they say they'll let him go. But then when he goes to Gundicha Mandir, they get mad and they come and they tie up all the servants of Lord Jagannath because they're unhappy, but they get away with it for a short period, right? Just like a person's going to rob the bank, if all the police have gone off duty, that's the time, right? Lord Chaitanya gets ready for the Rath Yatra. They bring the deities out and they put the deities on the chariot. And Lord Chaitanya gets out and he offers prayers. And he starts with, he folds his hands and he says the prayer. He looks up at Lord Jagannath and he says, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hidaya Cha Jagat Hidaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha. I offer my obeisances unto Lord Krishna. He is the worshipful Lord for all Brahminical men. He is the well-wisher of the cows and the brahmanas. He is always giving benefits to everyone. I offer repeated obeisances to this Lord who is known as Krishna and Govinda. So then Lord Chaitanya goes to dance at the Rath Yatra. And first Lord Chaitanya goes ahead and Lord Jagannath goes to catch up with him. And then Jagannath goes ahead and Lord Chaitanya goes to catch up with him. But at one point, the dancing is so fantastic that Lord Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balaram stop and are stunned in ecstasy. And they're watching Lord Chaitanya dance at this Rath Yatra. It's called it's a what? Yes, but there's a particular word they used about the dancing that it was like traumatic. Traumatic. It was a Bhakti, but a traumatic dancing. But at this spot, they stopped. because the Balgandi, right? But the dancing was like traumatic, because his dancing, we'll explain in a minute, and this is why at the Balgandi they're watching. So they decided we need to move the deities, so they pulled them. Nothing happened. They tied elephants to the deities. Still the deities didn't go. So Lord Chaitanya put his head behind the chariot and started pushing it. It started going rat-a-tat-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat-tat, and it started to move. And he's moving, but he's still watching this horrific dancing of Lord Chaitanya. And why was it horrific? Because sometimes he would fall on the ground and his bones would turn to like solid wood. And other times he would jump so high, and he had 7 different Sankirtan parties, and he would appear dancing in each one of them. Sometimes he would fall on the ground, he would be crying, and he would be perspiring, and he would fall on the ground, and he would change colors. He would turn into a golden log and roll across the ground. Sometimes his complexion turned from white to pink. His teeth would chatter so hard, people were afraid they were going to fall out. And he started dancing in a circle. It was called a firebrand, because like if you take the fire and move so fast, it's one motion. He was moving so fast that all you could see was a blur. So he would jump and he would fall on the ground. He would stop moving. Foam would ooze from his mouth. This is not the kind of thing you see every day, right? And he would jump in the air so high. So this is the kind of ecstasy that Lord Chaitanya is showing us, because this is the time of Rath Yatra, that how we take the Lord back to Vrindavan. And we also, this is Lord Chaitanya taking Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra back to Vrindavan at the time that they really want to go. It's like if you're telling someone about the glories of Govardhan and Radhakund, say, yes, I really want to go to Radhakund and the Govardhan bad. Okay, the car's here. That's the time to go, right? Like if you're selling a product, person I really want to buy. You don't keep going. You get them in the chariot and you keep them going. And then Lord Chaitanya, at the end of the dancing, he says the prayer. He says, let me remember what the start of this is. He says, that very personality who stole my heart in my youth is again become my Lord. And I'm experiencing the same moonlight of Chaitra, the same breezes of Malati flowers, the same blowing breeze from the Kadamba forest. And yet I am not happy here. I still wish to go by the Reva River underneath the Vedasi tree. That is my longing and my desire. And then Lord Chaitanya says later, to Lord Jagannath, you are the same Krishna, and I am the same Radharani. And we are appearing together just like we did in our youth. But I want us to be back in the simple Vrindavan life where we had a special ecstasy together. I don't like this Kurukshetra. There's too many horses, too many people, too much noise. There's elephants and there's chariots going rattle, 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 rattle. I don't like this. We need to go back to Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, you're not sitting on a chariot like you are here, wearing a big crown. You're wearing forest flowers and you're playing the flute. That's what I want. Come with me back to Vrindavan. Leave this place of Kurukshetra. Come back where our heart is longing to be with each other. And this reminds us of how Radharani said that I met my old and dear friend Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra, and it is very wonderful, but I still wish to be by the bank of the Yamuna River, hearing Krishna play that sweet 5th note on the flute within that forest of Vrindavan. So we take advantage. When we go on the Rath Yatra, we have the deity of Lord Chaitanya, don't we? He doesn't roll on the ground and turn to, he's already gold, he doesn't turn from white to pink. But he is there leading the procession back to Godhead. So does anyone remember the dilemma I presented before we chanted? What was the dilemma? Could someone pass them the microphone so you can remember this dilemma? Let's see if we came up with a solution for this. Who can remember what the dilemma was? Microphone? Where is it? You don't know? What is the dilemma? Yes.
You said we are not qualified to become the Raganuga Bhaktas, but yet it is the qualification to go back to Godhead. So how to achieve that? That was the dilemma.
So how is this answered in our last pastime? To do Raganuga, we follow in the footsteps of residents of Vrindavan. Who is Lord Chaitanya?
Srimad Radha.
Is it not Radha and Krishna? Are those not residents of Vrindavan? So what is the solution then? It isn't to stay home on Rath Yatra Day, is it? What is the solution? Pass it back, see if some of the ladies can answer. Back in the back here. Yes?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's definitely a dilemma. And in my understanding, the only way to advance to that stage is just to follow the acharyas. And our acharya is Srila Prabhupada, and he gave us strict instructions what we should do and we should not do. So through doing this, we can actually become purified, because Raganuga Bhakti can only happen when we don't have any more material desires, attachments, when we actually purified. It cannot be artificial, otherwise it's cheating. So the process of sadhana bhakti is something natural that we have to follow, and that will take us to the...
So does that mean I shouldn't jump in the Radha Kund with my hearing aids to try to force myself into Krishna's Leela?
You can take your hearing aids off.
And wonder why both my devotion and the hearing aids didn't work?
No, you shouldn't do that, Prabhu.
But if we follow Lord Chaitanya's mood, even though we're not pretending to be in Raganuga, because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna's dancing in the Rasa dance, and Lord Chaitanya is dancing in the Sankirtan, and he's dancing in the Rath Yatra. By doing that, aren't we practicing Vaidhi, giving us a chance to enter into Raganuga in the bona fide method that Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya have given us?
Yes, that's why the Sankirtan movement is so beautiful, that even if we're not qualified, we're given a chance to practice something that is so sublime.
So the people who jump over the wall at Seva Kunj, they ask them what it was like to see Krishna's Leela, and because their mind was gone, it didn't work.
It didn't work.
But does this show the importance of Rath Yatra, and Lord Jagannath, both by King Indradumya, by the residents of Dwarka hearing from Rohini, and by Lord Chaitanya dancing at the Rath Yatra? Does this not show the special mercy of Jagannath, that he is the Lord of the universe, and yet at the same time, he is the sweet, lovable Krishna? Some people don't see how that, it doesn't sound like you can be God and a coward boy at the same time. Lord Brahma thought he would play a trick on Krishna. And of course, if you want to play a counter trick, what is the first thing you do? You make them think their trick is working. Krishna's running around like he wonders what's going on. So Brahma say, hey, my trick worked, right? So it's like if you have a military plan, and I think, oh my gosh, your soldiers are coming in this side, but they're really coming there. And I'm looking all here like I'm going to defend this. You think, wow, your trick worked. In the meantime, I run over to there. So we can't trick Krishna, but we try, don't we? Do we try to trick Krishna, or do we just surrender to him? And do we take special opportunity of special days like Akshaya Tritiya, Ekadasi, Rath Yatra? Any other questions, comments, or corrections? Do some people try to force their way into Krishna's Leela? Do they, some of the men decide they're going to wear a sari and they call themselves a gopi? Other people call them something else, which we won't mention here. They have many names for such things, but we won't discuss it. But is that a bona fide process, to just pretend? If you decide you want to be the Minister of Defense, do you just show up in Delhi and decide you're the Minister of Defense? What happens to you? A couple of things. You might end up in a prison, you might end up in a mental hospital. But either way, you do get locked up. You don't get to become the Minister of Defense. You get locked up. It's just a question of whether they put you in a jail or a mental institution. So they say that's going beyond our qualifications. But it doesn't mean that we can't read about the Leela and appreciate it. We can appreciate the great devotees. We just can't pretend we're one of them. And again, some people will come and try to, we go out to the Radhakund, and random people come and try to give random advice. But we find, like in any field of life, if you want to succeed financially, if you want to do health, you already have a financial advisor and a doctor, and you have a spiritual master who gives you bona fide advice, or do you just go out on the street and get random medical, financial, and spiritual advice from random people that you don't know? Does that sound like a formula for disaster on any level? Some random person you don't know is telling you what you should do about your health, your finances, and your spiritual life. You don't even know who this person is. So you find these things ahead of time. Any questions with this? Did I make any bad? Yes. Pass the mic to him.
Thank you. Thank you for the class, really. Thank you for the class, much appreciated. I'm a little confused and not able to understand. So, in the attempt of by the gopis to bring back Lord Krishna from Kurukshetra, how did the gopis were successful, and what is the connection? Please explain with the Jagannath ji. I'm not able to understand the connection.
Because Jagannath is the form. Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra are the forms of Krishna and Balaram and Subhadra when they are in Kurukshetra, but they feel such ecstasy of Vrindavan that their arms and legs go in their body and their eyes get big. This is the form that they take when they're feeling the ecstasy and separation of Vrindavan so much that it affects their form, that the arms and legs go in their body. So this is the form of Krishna being outside of Vrindavan, feeling the ecstasy of Vrindavan and wanting to go home. So this is the perfect form to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan in, because this is the form that was created when he was feeling the ecstasy and separation of Vrindavan.
Okay, thanks. So instead of coming back to Vrindavan, Lord Krishna appeared in the form of Jagannath in Puri. That is the intention.
Well, you on a level, the gopis can bring Krishna back to Vrindavan, and they bring him in their heart. He actually goes back to there, just like Krishna tells them at the Rasa dance that you don't need to be here with me. You can stay home and you can meditate on me, and that I can appear in your presence. Because the pure devotee, even if he's separated from Krishna, he can still see Krishna. They say that in Vrindavan, in one sense, even though Krishna was gone, he was still there. So when the gopis are thinking about Krishna, he reappears to them.
Thank you. So nice.
This is something that's a little bit inconceivable for us, right?
Yeah, right.
It's like someone said, can you explain to me how Krishna manifests as all the cows and the cowherd boys? I suppose it's possible on a platform to show the mathematical formula, but it's not something that we can show the formula or understand it. That's why when Krishna expanded as the cows and the cowherd boys, who did he explain it to? Who can tell me? Who? Say it louder. To who? No? Who? No? None of these people have the potency to understand that. Who did he explain exactly how he did that to? Who? Balaram. Because Balaram is an expansion of Krishna. You know, we have partial 50 qualities, but Balaram has the quality to understand something like this. So this is something that can be explained, but not by us to us. It can be explained by Krishna to Balaram. It's not something that we have the capacity to understand. So that's why it's called inconceivable, because we can't conceive of it. But we can get enough to know that Krishna always has something interesting going on. And by one thing, he accomplishes so many different things. But that is our desire, to take Krishna back to Vrindavan. And when we are missing Krishna there, that is better than thinking, if we think we've already achieved it. If you find that there is gold buried somewhere and you're digging for it, this is looking for our relationship with Krishna. But if I give you a fake piece of gold and you go home with it, you stop looking for the real gold. So if we think we can artificially be in Krishna's pastimes, we stop doing the steps it takes to get to Krishna's pastimes. People can be fools easily. There's one person at the beach in Laguna, he kept looking for all the rocks to see if there was a big nugget of gold. But that's because I told him that I found an 8-ounce nugget of gold, and they started looking. I told him, no, I didn't really find that. But boy, they were looking through it, but you won't find it there, right? So if you think you have something, then you stop looking for it, right? So if you stop looking for the real gold because someone gave you fake gold, this is not an advantage. So that is why we hankering for Krishna. We may still not have it, but at least we're on the right path. Any other question or comment? That means it's over. I hope we brought something here to light. I just tried to repeat some things that I heard. That's why I did a presentation, not an interpretation, because we weren't practicing speculating now, although many people do.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.